All right, here we go. People at home and people in this classroom. I'm going to talk to you about scientific notation and how we need to write these very large numbers. And if you go and take a look here on the screen, you can see something from the stream. This is in your Google Classroom stream. And yesterday, I put in 2 downloads, one for Android and the other for the crappy phones, that you can get. That's a joke, Apple people. But I put 2 downloads in here for you to be able to make your calculator at home, your phone at home, a scientific calculator. And the reason I picked these in particular is because they have this certain button on it that I want you to use. And that button is an EE button, okay? EE. So both of those calculators that I put on the screen have an EE button on them. Now, here's what EE on a calculator means. It means times 10 to the. Does that make sense? So when you hit the EE button, it means times 10 to the. Now, a lot of you have these big, clunky, very powerful calculators. The TI-84s, and they're really nice calculators. But you're going to have to enter buttons in a different order, okay? So the calculators that I like to use, and when I'm giving you a lesson and I'm talking about hitting buttons, I'm using one of these little rectangular calculators from the classroom, and it's a TI-30XA, or just a TI-30, okay? And the reason I like to use them is they're very simple, and they have the EE button on them.
That's a great idea.
Yes, sir.
I'm all about nicknames.
About what?
Nicknames. Like
Right,
like
right.
Nickname, salutation. Dr. Perky.
I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, so these are the EE buttons. And the EE button, good. EE button, good. That's the scientific statement. In science, sometimes you try to use as few words as possible, be as clear as possible. EE button, good. All right, check it out. Obviously, we are going to be using this number for the mole a lot, right? 1 mole of atoms means that you have 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms, okay? So at home, right now, stop and download one of those calculators, okay? Everybody in the classroom here, we already have a calculator ready to go. So put me on pause and then download the calculator onto your phone. Okay, so you've got the calculator downloaded. So that was really silly, but for some reason I thought it was funny. All right, somebody's like, oh God, did I hit pause? If one person thinks that they hit pause, then my job as a teacher was done today. I can just go home and go ahead and go surfing because there's ways. All right, check it out. If we're going to punch in this 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, if we're punching that in, then on your calculator, ready? Punch these buttons. 6, decimal, 2. Then hit the EE button 1 time. Sometimes I say EE and then kids go, and they hit it twice. But EE means the 1 button. 6.02 EE. And now you just hit 2, 3. It makes it so much easier, okay, than using the other calculators. So if you downloaded either the Android calculator or the Apple calculator, then you can just hit these buttons. 6.02 EE 2 3. This EE, again, I'm going to repeat. I know it's getting old. Is you typing in all these buttons. It's you typing in X10 shift up to exponent, right? Good button. All right. Now, let's just talk a little bit about what these numbers mean or how to manipulate these large numbers. Okay? All right. 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd obviously means 602 and 21 more zeros, okay? All right? So 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Now we're going to talk about some things that you don't often think about. What is half of this number? Now somebody at home is going to be, well, it'd be 6.02 and then you just have half as many zeros. That is incorrect. Half of 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd is just 3.01 times 10 to the 23rd. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, the next just intuitive thing that you need to understand. Twice this number, if you multiply this number times 2, it would not be 12.04 times 10 to the 23rd. I mean, it really would be that. Yes, it would be that, but that's not what your calculator is going to say. If you did 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd times 2, then it's going to say 1.2 times 10 to the 24th. Because, see, we moved the decimal one more. It's changed this to the 24th. Does that make sense? That should make sense to you. So if we double this, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, you get 1.2 times 10 to the 24th. See, this is really 12, and that's really still 6. But we have to write 1.2 because we're using scientific notation, right? Does that make sense? So this is what you should expect to see. Very frequently, you can do these problems in your head once you get good at them, okay? So I always, throughout the years, every semester, I'll be yelling out answers. Okay, like a student will be like, oh, there's 1.5 moles of this. And I'll say, so, you have 9 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. And they're like, oh, my God, how'd you do that? I'm like, well, 6 times 1.5 is 9. There's really no more to it than that. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so that's just a little brief thing on how these numbers move around and the calculator to download, and I hope you watched it at home. If you didn't, I'm so mad at you.